Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling from July 22nd, 2021. And it was actually a mixed bag. This show was not bad. I mean, the matches weren't any good. But some of the storytelling and some of the seeds that were planted in this episode were actually very interesting. So we're not going to do the speed run. We're going to actually take our time here. So Chris Bay defeated Rohit Raju early in the show and at the beginning in the first match. Rohit Raju and Chris Bay were tossing a Bullet Club shirt back and forth. Chris Bay thought it was Rohit's shirt. Rohit said it wasn't his shirt. And Chris Bay was basically just like, oh, whatever. Anyway, Chris Bay defeats Rohit Raju. After the match, he runs into Jay White. Jay White asked him if he left his gift. Did he like the gift? And Chris Bay said it was all right, but, you know, he's a man who stands by himself. He doesn't like joining groups. And then, so Jay White says, well, you know, how's that been working out for you? You know, Slammiversary, you lost. And he kind of just left that. We kind of left that where it is. Now, because Impact tapes like 5 weeks of TV, we already know that, you know, at least I'm pretty sure Chris Bay is going to end up joining Bullet Club. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a short-term thing. But that wasn't all Jay White that we were dealing with tonight. I'm going to talk about all of this at one time. Jay White comes to the ring to talk about why he came to Impact. And he called himself, you know, the one real belt collector. But we'll get back to his problems with Kenny Omega later. He said he came to Impact for David Finlay. Because David Finlay thinks that he can get away from him. And David Finlay's been running from him. David Finlay has been ducking him. And says that David Finlay beat him one time. And his career has gone downhill ever since. And that, you know, at some whatever New Japan pay-per-view that they're trying to sell, they're going to have a rematch. And then he says that the Finlay name is no longer as strong as it used to be, and how his daddy must be so disappointed in him. And then he moved on to the Good Brothers, and he talked about, you know, I came here for the fans. And then of course some of the fans clapped and they chanted, you know, Switchblade, clap, clap, Switchblade. And then he was like, not you. I'm talking about the guys who were standing in the ring too sweeting like it's 2013. Those are the real fans of the Bullet Club. And then he starts running down the Good Brothers, how they only been relevant, you know, when joining the Bullet Club or trying to attach themselves to the Bullet Club. And, you know, their desire to rejoin the Bullet Club has been denied because he is the leader of the Bullet Club. Because the Good Brothers no longer meet his standards of what is Bullet Club material. This led the Elite to come out, Omega, Gallows, and Anderson. So Gallows, you know, at this point, Don Callis basically says that, you know, hey, when we were running Japan and, you know, finishing, you know, main event in the Tokyo Dome and all this kind of stuff, you were the young boy making chocolates and folding people's clothes, and, you know, you should be thankful for us. And that was kind of the Good Brothers thing. You should be thankful that we created Bullet Club and allowed you to have a career. Omega was kind of upset because Jay White brought up that he beat him in their one match, I guess, that happened at some point in the past. I'm trying not to interject too much. I want to give the full information first. But afterwards, Omega said his piece. He was like, all right, since we're going to talk about old stuff, I don't want to be here. I'm leaving. That leads to the Good Brothers to talk smack with Jay White. And of course, like I said, the Good Brothers, they said they feel like they are owed a thank you for creating an opportunity for Jay White. And when they left, it gave all of the new guys the opportunity to rise up and become leaders of the Bullet Club and all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, Jay White says that it's all about talking. All you guys have ever done is talk. And then he said that Carl Anderson peaked in 2012 and he ain't been nothing ever since. And then the Good Brothers beat him up. The Good Brothers beat him up, and then Chris Bay saved him. And this led to the, 4 people fighting. Then afterwards, the Good Brothers challenged Chris Bay and Jay White to a tag team match, which will take place next week. And then we also got a little run in between Josh Alexander and Kenny Omega, where Kenny Omega called him a lightweight after Josh Alexander talked about being the one true champ of Impact and, not feeling like he's been properly recognized. So that's the whole Omega Bullet Club thing. To me, this felt like Warrior and Hogan. Like when they got in the ring and started talking about a bunch of stuff nobody really knows. Like they were name dropping, like in this one segment, it was like New Japan Cup, G1 Climax, all this kind of stuff. I'm just kind of like, yeah, this works for people who knows what it is. But this is in the weeds for anybody who is kind of like a casual fan of Impact, and you just kind of like watching the show. You're like, oh, who is this guy? And he starts talking about, I beat you in the New Japan Cup, and everybody's kind of like, huh? What's that? And they've already wrestled before, and you're like, yeah, I guess. So to me, it felt like it was too in the weeds, and it felt too heavily reliant upon old things. Now, it's okay to mention that, that Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers are, former members of the Bullet Club. That's actually important. But it also felt like that's really all that they talk about is Japan. Like they have no storyline that they're building from in the United States. It's just all about the New Japan stuff. And, I know that it's the hardcore audience. But I am in the hardcore audience, but even I don't know all of this stuff. I don't pay attention to who wins random matches in the G1 Climax because I don't care. The G1 Climax is a round robin tournament. Everybody has to wrestle like 8 times. You telling me I have to remember all of that? And then remember it over several years? I don't remember that stuff. I barely remember the winners of these tournaments. So I get it that, hey, it's a nice little heat spot for, Jay White to mention that he's beaten Kenny Omega already. Him also mentioning that, he lost to David Finlay, which was weird. It was weird that he was both a babyface and a heel within the same segment. He was healing on David Finlay, talking about how his dad must be disappointed in him. But he was a babyface in talking to Kenny Omega, because he said, oh, I beat Kenny Omega, who calls himself the god of pro wrestling, and I'm the one real belt collector, the only real Grand Slam champion in New Japan, because I guess he won all the belts. And all that stuff. And I was like, okay, but you're not an entity that can, and I guess to some people he is, where he's one of those entities that can be face, heel, he can do whatever he want. It's like, I like Jay White, but I would have preferred if he'd have just stuck with the heel thing. Him being half babyface is really, really weird. Like, it's really weird for it to be like half babyface in this program. Kenny Omega didn't really do much. I am interested in the Kenny Omega Josh Alexander match. I think that's a natural next step. Since Kenny Omega is the belt collector, I can see that maybe GCW, the title that Nick Gage has, will probably end up on Kenny Omega's waist at some point. But I can see him taking the X Division title too, which makes sense because it's been done before, so it's not like it's a really big deal. Lashley's done it, Kurt Angle's done it. I think Samoa Joe did it. I think a bunch of people had the X Division and the World title at the same time, so it wouldn't be too much for Kenny Omega to win that belt too. Of course, it would completely dickhole, Impact, and they'll have no singles champions, But I really am concerned about who they're gonna build to be the guy to beat Kenny Omega. Again, that's the end game here. Like there's no end in sight. My favorite to do that is Trey Miguel, and he's not on the show. He's not even in a storyline right now. Like, I would think that Trey Miguel would be the guy. He's young. He's athletic. He's a little thin. But, as far as guys who are not also Rans on the roster, I would go with him. I mean, he probably needs a little bit of seasoning, a little bit more character and stuff like that. But that's what you should be working on now while he's not the champion. Instead of putting him in rando matches on the kickoff show or whatever the hell they're doing, put him in situations where he can build his character like he was doing decently. And his feud with Sami Callihan, that was fine. Just build upon that. I don't know why they get this. They seemingly have given up on him. But you have Kenny Omega. Essentially, he's doing better in Impact than he's been doing in AEW. And I really have not had a problem with too much of what they've been doing with Kenny Omega and Impact. I haven't been a fan of the matches, and I haven't been a fan of the opponents, like Moose and Sami Callihan. Wasn't a fan, but some of the storyline stuff they've been doing has been fine. Because it's him and the Good Brothers. They're stuck in the past, and you're guys who think that they're super cool. And being Impact World Champion feels right for Kenny Omega. He doesn't feel like the world champion of the second biggest wrestling promotion in the world. He feels like the world champion of Impact. So, so it feels like he's in his right role here. And I haven't had a problem with him. And I didn't have a problem with any of this. Most of this stuff was fine, except for Jay White being a babyface / heel in certain different aspects. I'm okay with it. I like the idea of Chris Bay being the guy that is going to kind of be mentored by Jay White. I don't think this is going to last beyond. I know that Chris Bay works New Japan Strong, I believe. So it might stick, but I don't see this lasting much longer than Jay White's entire run in Impact. So maybe at the end, we will have Jay White versus Chris Bay at the end of that whole thing. And that could still be cool. Even if they say like he's going to be a Bullet Club member for 2 months or 3 months or whatever, and then at the end he's got to fight Jay White, that'd be sweet, And then if he's the guy that's going to wrestle Kenny Omega in the future, that'd be fine too. He definitely needs a better character, a better personality. But again, they should be working on that stuff now, and I'm going to give it time and give it space in order to do that, because I actually enjoy Kenny, this stuff. This stuff is fine. I didn't have a problem with any of this. Most of the other show, not so much, but the Bullet Club stuff, it was interesting. It was too much of the past, but it was interesting stuff, because you can't ignore the past. You just shouldn't base it so heavily on it, But the Good Brothers basically saying that Jay White owes them stakes and stuff like that. That's basically been their storyline. That was their storyline with Finjuice. That's basically been their thing with everybody who comes from New Japan. The Good Brothers say, oh yeah, remember when you were young boys and we were the main event, and now you guys are top guys and you think you're the ish, and we're going to put you back in your place. That's the same storyline that they're doing now. And I don't really appreciate the recycling of the story, but at the same time, I'm cool with it because I like Jay White. But it's also, I know I talked about it coming across like Warrior and Hogan when they were standing in the ring in WCW. But it's also coming across like the Clique, where they really only work with their friends, where, they come in and, guys that they've already worked with, guys who they already have relationships with, are the guys that they're interacting with the most. And that's been the biggest problem that I've had with Impact is, people that they've interacted with the most so far have been people that they've already had relationships with. Which is why I'm saying, like, who are they going to build in order to beat Kenny Omega? They haven't really done a good job of interacting with other people on the roster. It's been mostly New Japan guys and the occasional guy in Impact, but that guy in Impact usually is already related to Don Callis in some way, or Don Callis tries to relate himself to that guy in some way. So it's never about the guy. It's more about the relationship between Don Callis and the guy. Like Rich Swann, it was all like, who kept you with a job when you broke your leg? It was me. And then when it's Moose, he was like, you're a fantastic athlete, Moose. 5-star athlete, Moose. And then, with Sami Callihan's a cockroach. He's the scum of the earth. He's the worst. And, it's that kind of thing. Like, it has to be somebody that maybe Don Callis doesn't have any type of relationship with. Maybe because he came either after Don Callis was relieved or something like that. But they need to be building something with the future of this storyline. But I will say this, give Impact some credit. They are actually utilizing all of their temporary performers, the Mickey James, the Jay Whites, the people who are not going to be there that long. They are using them properly. And they have a sunset date. They come in, they do what they're going to do, and then they're gone. So I don't really have much of a problem. The only issue I have is they're not really utilizing the people who are there full time. They're not utilizing them to the best of their abilities, but they have time to change that. All right, so the next big segment came with Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo. So Mickie James came out there to once again ask Deonna Purrazzo to join her in Empower. Try to cut this short. Deonna Purrazzo says that, you're only here for yourself. You're not here for me. If you really want me to be on your Empower show, you need to apologize and you need to grovel, which was great heat. Get on your hands and knees and say, please beg me to be on this show. So then Gail Kim comes out. Gail Kim, says, oh, well, look, it was my idea for Mickie to go to the ring. And, I thought it would be a good time to ask you to be on Empower. And, after all of this stuff that you've been saying, you didn't say no. So do you really want to be on Empower? You should. I mean, it'd be great for your legacy. It's great for women's wrestling. It's great for Impact. It's yada, yada, yada. And then Deonna Purrazzo shook hands with Mickie James. Okay, so Deonna Purrazzo will be at the NWA show, which I don't think there was any real doubt that she would be. I would have liked for her to say, and I think this could have been a nice little kick in the ass, if Deonna Purrazzo would have said, I will agree, but you have to be my opponent. Now, I think that would have been just that little cherry on top. Would have added so much to this, and then Mickie James would have had to accept it, And then I would have really loved it if they'd have done that. But now they just kind of have Deonna Purrazzo there. I know they still have some time to build up, an opponent for Deonna Purrazzo, but I really would prefer it to be Mickie James more than anybody else. And I actually didn't feel like dissing Gail Kim this week. So that's how Impact not being too bad as far as, character and stories and different things like that means that I get to be a little bit nicer on the talent. So Tenille Dashwood, Brian Myers, and Sam Beal was defeated by Jake Something, Matt Cardona, and Chelsea Green. Later, Brian Myers thought that he and Tenille Dashwood were going to be tag team partners in the Homecoming tournament. Tenille Dashwood said no. And then, Sam Beal promised that he was going to get Brian Myers a partner. After their match, Taylor Wilde was jabber-jawing at Tenille Dashwood. I'm guessing she's back. But I was also guessing that, that's going to be Tenille's next feud. I have no idea what any of this means. Because I know Taylor Wilde took like 2 months off. She missed the taping, so she was gone for like 2 months. And I have no idea. I don't even remember what they're feuding over. I really don't. So I guess we'll have to put a to be determined on that. So Eddie Edwards would cut a promo who said, and they showed footage of W. Morrissey attacking Eddie Edwards, beat him up during their match at Slammiversary. W. Morrissey hit him with like brass knuckles or something. So now Eddie Edwards was pretty pissed and said that, hey, if that's what you wanted to do, that's all you had to say. Meet me in the parking lot. We can settle this right now. So he goes out into the parking lot, and W. Morrissey comes out into the parking lot, and they fight. I mean, it was no BS. Morrissey just came out there to fight him. He beat him with a traffic cone, strangled him with a cable. It looked like, Eddie Edwards was about to die. And then Eddie Edwards, for some reason, finds kendo sticks underneath a production truck. Like, that's a real fortuitous place to find kendo sticks, under a production truck. And then he hit I'm pretty sure hitting somebody with a kendo stick with one hand doesn't hurt that much. But he had 2 kendo sticks, and he was just kind of wailing on W. Morrissey, and Morrissey fled. He ran away, which, okay, that's fine. I enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying W. Morrissey and his run in Impact. He just seemed to have it down, man. Like the look, the attitude, the personality. He seems to really be selling it and doing the best that he can here. So Ace Austin and Madman Fulton lost to Finjuice via a roll-up. Then they attacked them post-match. Finjuice started beating them up. And then Rohit Raju and Shira jumped in to help them. All 4 of them beat down Finjuice. And then Rohit Raju tried to raise everybody's hand like they were all together. But Ace and Fulton were kind of like, no, we're not buddies with you guys, because Fulton and Shira seem to have a problem with one another. And here's where I have another issue, because it seems like Ace Austin should be something in Impact. he was in a much better place during the pandemic before they started doing all these extras and randos coming in to do a shot, a couple of tapings and Impact. He was doing so much better, especially in 2019 when he was doing that feud with Eddie Edwards. Why his career has gone backwards, I have no idea. You know, ever since they teamed him up with Madman Fulton, he has done nothing but lose. I think he won that World X Cup or something like that, but other than that, he's done nothing but lose. You know, I think well, I shouldn't say that because he won the X Division title too. Then he lost it, I think, in his first title defense. You know, and this has been the most frustrating thing about watching Impact with Kenny Omega and with all of these other people who have been coming in. It's been this issue of they're not appropriately building some of the younger guys that they had been putting some emphasis on. And then they just stopped. Trey Miguel being one, Chris Bay was another one. He was the X Division champion for a little while, then they took it from him. He never really got back to that point. Ace Austin is another one. They were building him, and then they cut the legs out from under him. Now he's not doing anything. Another one was Rich Swann, which I wasn't a fan of Rich Swann as a world champion, but since you made him a world champion, you should at least be pushing him or doing something with him now. Instead, Rich Swann and Willie Mack are back as a tag team. They're feuding with Violent by Design because Violent by Design is burying them and blames them for losing their tag team championships. We lost championships. Y'all lost championships. The difference between us, brother, is that we didn't blame anybody else for losing our championships. We take responsibility for losing those championships. And it's kind of like, oh, what? Like, man, Jesus. So they were challenging Violent by Design to a fight, and then as they did so, Eric Young teleported into the room with Violent by Design and beat them up. The lights flickered, and Eric Young apparently is now teleporting too. Nobody has legs anymore in wrestling. Everybody's just appearing in places. You know, lights have to go out, and you're like, oh, it's all it takes is for one major wrestling promotion to do something stupid, and then it's everywhere. Fuck. I love Violent by Design. Willie Mack and Rich Swann as a tag team is fine, I guess. This ought to be fine, I guess. I really think that Violent by Design should be doing better. Again, it's another group that they were doing well. That's a homegrown group that's of talent that they have full time. And they cut the legs from underneath them. You know, I don't like that. I just don't like I don't like their creative decisions. Their creative decisions are not good. You know, they have some talent that they could be working with and could be building. They're just not using them properly. So Moose wants to fight Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin wants to fight Moose, and they will fight next week. And then Fire and Flavor lost their rematch to Decay because Kiera kicked Tasha, who tumbled outside the ring, and then Havoc pinned Kiera. And I saw on Twitter before the episode of Impact even came out that this is Kiera Hogan's last set of tapings, so she has actually left Impact. Which, of course, was a spoiler not only on this match, but anything she does in the future pretty much means that she's losing because she's on her way out. Now, let's talk about that for a moment. Kiera Hogan has been in Impact for quite a while. Over the last year or so, she's butted heads with Sasha Banks a couple of times. I'm guessing that she's leaving Impact for greener pastures. I'm not entirely sure what that would be. Because, you know, I guess she's looking to score an AEW contract, which, you know, is what it is. And that's a good job for her. I don't know how that NXT thing might work out. Because, again, she's butted heads with Sasha Banks so many times. I'm like, well, she's trying to butt heads with Sasha Banks, who's probably ignoring her. But she might have heat there. Who knows? Or they might be able to sweep it under the rug. Who knows? But Kiera Hogan is fine. You know, not just, you know, thick as peanut butter, which she actually is. But, you know, she seems to know who she is as a character and her personality. I think that she might do well in AEW. She's not a botch machine. She's not horrible like, you know, Big Swole and some of the other ones they have in AEW. She's not bad. At least from what I've seen plenty of her matches. I didn't see her mess up anything too much. So with the appropriate personality and the right time, the right place, and things like that, I think she can do well in Ring of Honor or in AEW. I think she could do pretty well. So Kiera Hogan leaving it's not really the biggest blow, but it says a lot that they have women leaving and not that many coming in, which is strange because that's Impact's thing, is that their knockouts division. I also find it very bizarre that both Britt Baker and Deonna Purrazzo have to essentially beg Impact and AEW to book them against each other, and they keep saying that they want to do it. And everybody's kind of like, no, you're not doing it. I get why though. Deonna Purrazzo is the crown jewel of the Knockouts division, and Britt Baker is the crown jewel of the AEW Women's division. How do you book them against each other, or doing the Forbidden Door stuff that doesn't bury one or the other? Now you could obviously just send women from AEW to Impact for her to wrestle. You could always, of course, do the opposite as well and send women from the Knockouts division to AEW to wrestle. But I get their growing frustration and how the Forbidden Door seems to only be for the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega and the things that they're doing, and not necessarily for the women's division. New Japan doesn't have any women to give to Impact, so it has to be AEW. But I understand their frustration, because I would think that the women's division would have been the first thing that they would cross over, because it seems to be more natural. And plus, for a long time, and then even currently still, AEW needs real help with their women's division. Their women's division is not as solid as people would think. Even though they just signed Thunder Rosa, their women's division is still not very good. But Impact's women's division is becoming more and more depleted over time. So, it might be a good time to be a women's wrestler. You got women's promotions popping up all over the place, women's only shows popping up, but you got to get Impact is willing to put the time and the effort in. NWA is willing to put the time and the effort in. Is AEW willing to do it? I haven't seen that yet, but at least, well, they're willing to do it, but only on YouTube. They'll throw it up on YouTube. Same thing with Ring of Honor. They'll throw them up on YouTube, but that's about it. But let me know what you guys think of this show if you watched it. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel, which would really help, really, really help. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.